Training wise, this person doesn't know a lot of people, or maybe they do know some people, but like we've all met the law enforcement officer that their identity is part-time. I teach people to shoot or whatnot. That's not always the person you trust. Just because somebody's in law enforcement or they've been in the military does not mean they're competent with firearms, even if they do have an instructor cred.
Yeah, that's the instructor thing is we've been to a lot of classes and you know, a lot of the ex-military guys, they know a lot of stuff, but I think the best instructors just try to get you to think outside of the box and try things you never tried before. I won't mention any names because, you know, people get riled up about these instructor things, but the last class we went to, he got me to try something. And I mean, I've been in guns my whole life, basically, since I was a little kid. And the techniques that he was showing, I never tried. I never even thought about it. I've been through law enforcement training. I've been through all kinds of stuff. And
they felt unnatural too.
Yeah, it felt weird. But when you shot it, it was more controllable. You were more accurate and you can shoot faster.
Yeah.
And nobody had ever told me to try that. And so
he'd copied it from a competition shooter. He was very open about that.
Told you where it came from. And I mean, it's crazy that, you know, it had nothing to do with the military training. It had nothing to do with that. Like I said, it came from a competition shooter. So
if you want to learn to shoot as proficiently as you can, competition shooters, in my experience, are the best place to go. Now, they're not going to teach you tactics, and some of them will, and their tactics sometimes suck. But also, a lot of law enforcement guys and military guys that don't, if you're going to go to a military guy for tactics or a law enforcement guy, you want the guy who has been in a lot of gunfights, done a lot of stuff.
You need somebody who's had the adrenaline dump.
Not just
that when shit hits the fan.
You want the guy that gets in that situation, he's no longer going to have the adrenaline dump because he's so...
I don't know that you don't ever not have the adrenaline dump, but everything else kicks in.
Yeah. You don't want the guy who's building his career off being in 3 gunfights. You want the guy who is, hey, like, we come out of the global war on terror. There's guys with 20 years of experience.
In actual gunfights.
Yeah, that have hundreds of gunfights under the belt. This, you know, granted, this is from you fire 1 round to major on full-on battles. We've got that resource. We might as well use it.
Yep. And obviously, it's a wildly different situation. We're not, hopefully, having gun battles in the streets here in the U.S., but, you know, you never know what you're going to encounter.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of crazy people.
There are a lot of crazy people. But if you're just learning to use the gun, too, I've found it's either the competition guys, but sometimes the problem with the competition guys, they think everybody's going to get to their level of proficiency, and the techniques usually require more muscle, more specific use of the hands and whatnot that take a lot of time to learn.
Well, and 2, what are you training for? Because competition does focus on something that in the real world doesn't matter. I won't say it doesn't matter, but I just say it's harped on too much for real world use. So those are naturally 2 different things. So you know, like you just said, split times, speed of draw. I mean, yes, it's important to get your gun out, but is a half of a second going to matter?
A half of a second might, but a tenth of a second might not.
Exactly. So you're not getting it out, and I can't ever say his last
name. Jerry Mikulik?
Yeah. I mean, dude, guy's incredible. Never would want to, have to do anything crazy with him, but he gets it out and is accurate. I think the accuracy outweighs any speed that you will ever, especially in self-defense.
And if you look at like guys going through and clearing houses and whatnot, when they're actually firing, these are guys that can go do they can do jailbait splits. They are doing 0.4 second splits on average because that is the amount of time it takes us to process what we are seeing. So I'm not saying to train for that. You want to train for a higher standard than that so that shooting the gun becomes easy. When you are processing that, you can focus on processing versus
shooting the gun should just become second nature, and then you can focus on everything else around you. Yeah.
But I did take a class with one guy. He was a former SEAL, and I don't know how much he learned shooting in the SEALs because when he got out, I don't think they were as advanced as they are now, but he trained a lot of people, did a lot of military training. So he'd go in and train as one guy. He'd go in and have to train 50 guys how to shoot a handgun. And his techniques, you're never going to win a competition with him because it's really hard to get under a .25 split with his techniques. Most people are only going to be able to shoot that .4 split, but you can take somebody from 0 to 60 miles an hour really quick using his techniques. It's going to be hard to get them up to 80 to 100, but again, you can get them much faster from being competent from 0 to 60. Yeah. So, and again, that's you got to decide what you want out of the training you're going to.
Right, and naturally, I think most people are buying their first gun for self-defense reasons because that's typically where it starts. I don't know many people that are like, I'm going to get into competition shooting, and I've never held a gun before. I mean, I'm sure it happens. It happens, no doubt.
I've got a family friend who did that, but he never ended up getting into it.
And so now he's got guns, but are probably just for self-defense.
He went and watched a competition, which, great, suggest doing that.
Yeah, they're cool.
Saw these guys and was like, I can shoot better than that, because he has memories of like shooting a beer can off of a pole like from like 20 years ago.
Gotta love that.
Then he actually went to the range and was like, yeah, these guys there's a lot more going on with this than I thought.